Yep.
All right. All right, being 7 o'clock on October 13th, I'd like to open the planning board meeting. First up, we have the fiscal year 2022 Graves Engineering annual peer review contract. This is a yearly contract. And Randy, did his rate go up at all? Did Graves' rate go up at all? They pretty much stay the same? I mean,
Well, they
I think,
stayed
okay.
new money, new pricing. To stay in contract.
Okay. All right. I think that Mike's done a satisfactory job over this past year. If anyone has any other comments or anything.
I have to say, very well this year. In the pandemic, they got a couple more people on board, which I think has made a difference on their workload. So they seem to have a good handle on things now. And John is here now.
Yeah, I saw him on the panoramic. Thank you very much.
Hi, Ross.
Can't hide from the
I
now.
hope you're feeling better.
Oh, no, listen, I feel great. It's just the voice, and I just didn't want to put anything out there as far as anyone guessing. So
Thank
it's all about perception, everyone feeling safe, and that's all they care about. It's about other people, it's not about me. So, all right, if we have no other comments, do I have a motion to approve? Oh,
I just had one comment on it. I approve of what Graves is doing. I think they're doing a great job. Just from my understanding, I'm kind of new. Is this at some level where it gets put out to bid and you have to get 3 bids on it? Or
No, we're just renewing his annual contract. However, if the planning board ever chose to do that,
yeah,
then they could put it out to bid and, whether, if they wanted to explore
yeah.
different
It doesn't
engineering.
happen every year. And
No,
we can just
No,
extend
no one would just renewing the
Yeah.
existing,
Just curious. Thank you.
right.
No other.
all right. All right. If there's no other questions or comments, do you have a motion to approve Graves for another year for our peer review contract services for engineering?
So moved.
Yeah, renew their contract. Graves Engineering.
I'll second it.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye, it's unanimous.
With people at home, do we need to do a roll call? Just point of order.
Yeah, probably should.
It might be easier.
Yep. Go, Alicia, I'll let you go first.
Aye.
Just state your name and just say aye, just for people.
Alicia Jeek, aye. I apologize.
No problem. Ross Mincy, aye. All right, it's unanimous. Thank you, Don. All right, next up, we have some administration stuff. We have Comerford LLC, which is Green Boys Landscape Site Plan Annual Approval Extension Request, which they look to extend to November 4th of 2022. That is the site plan that is across the street on Route 20 from Kid Power Gymnastics on the westbound side of Route 20. They had a
Yeah.
site plan for the building.
This is the second time that they've had a site plan approval. COVID and everything else come down, but they are actually starting to work on the property with some and everything for their new building. So they are moving forward now. They
All right,
anticipate
you're-
next year, next.
I'll make a motion that we requests for 220 Sturbridge Road. Second that.
all right, all those in favor?
Unplay aye.
Aye.
Bill Fontaine aye. Beth, aye.
All right, Ross Mincy, aye. Alicia, you gonna,
Alicia Jeek, aye.
all right, it's unanimous. All right, next up, we have Otis Land Management LLC, 4 Sturbridge Road Site Plan Annual Approval Extension Request. They look to extend to October 2nd, 2022. This is correct me if I'm wrong, Rain, this is the storage shed off of Griffin Road? Correct.
It is actually making progress. they put in the detention basins, now they're putting drainage on the property, they brought water to the property. So he's slowly moving forward, he's making progress.
All right, do we have a motion to approve the extension for Otis Land Management at 4 Sturbridge Road?
Just one question, was still a plan to tie in their stormwater into the states at the mix now and it's
The state would them to tie in, so that's why it has a detention basin to the plunge pool with an overflow.
Okay.
So the state didn't want them to tie into the catch basin.
Looks like they've got it pretty well stabilized out front there.
Yeah, it took them a while, but
It was
now
good
it's
in the last
finally
storms
there.
that we had.
I mean, it's good to tell.
Those are big storms. Okay, I'll make a motion to approve the annual extension request for 4 Sturbridge Road.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Don
Alicia
Clay,
Cheek, aye.
Vincent, I.
Kay and I,
John Smith, aye.
Don Clay, aye.
All right, Ross Smith, aye. It's unanimous. All right, next up, we have Charlton Realty Company LLC 299 site plan annual approval extension request. They look to extend to October 23rd, 2022.
Yeah, this first time he's asked for an extension, you know, his initial 2 years is run out or running out, and so he's asking for his first extension.
where is this again?
This place where we're gonna have the tow trucks in the storage, right at the town line.
Gotcha.
The power.
Yes.
Yeah, the one with the main trailer that's not a sign. 'Cause it's
I saw that
registered.
somewhere else. By the interstate police office up to.
Yes, there is one over there,
Yeah.
you're correct.
It's not a sign. Yeah.
So he hasn't done anything. They were hot.
Yeah, I don't
On
know what the holdup has been over. So,
Be the entrances and work,
Mm.
you know, having to modify their entrances in and out of the property.
but he said he's still planning to move forward, but he hasn't done anything yet.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the extension of the site plan for 299 Charlton Realty Company also 299?
I'll make a motion to accept the extension till October 23rd, 2022.
Second that,
All right, all those in favor?
Alicia Cheek, aye.
Don Clay, aye.
Aye.
Bill Fontaine, aye.
John Smith, aye.
Ross Smith, aye. It is unanimous. Next up, we have GA Building and Properties, Ponican Hill Definitive Subdivision Annual Approval Extension Request to October 23rd, 2022.
Yeah, they're on High Crest Road, so it is, they are, you know, still building over there. Not GA builders, but it's, they have, you know, developers that bought the lots and building single family homes over there, so still, you know, moving forward, but the ways to go to see if this road is ever gonna be connected, but by keeping the subdivision alive, it's actually, you know, work in favor because we'd like to see the road connected all the way through.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the extension request for Ponican Hill Definitive Subdivision, which is off of Ponican Hill Road?
Make a motion to extension for the Ponican Hill Definitive Subdivision.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Alicia Cheek, aye.
Don Clay, aye.
Aye.
Bill Fontaine, aye.
John Smith, aye.
Ross Lemansky, aye. It is unanimous. Next up, we have AdMass 2 LLC Green Gold Group parking lot paving extension request on 5 Masonic Home Road. They look to extend to September 30th of 2021.
Yeah.
And
James-
I see James McMahon's on the Zoom. So if you give us an update, James, on the paving. I know you had John Taylor Paving lined up to pave over the summer.
We did, they gave us a bid. We were ready to move ahead on it and just have not heard back from them. Their voicemail box is full. So, you know, we've been calling, I mean, I don't want to throw anyone under the bus, but we've been calling pretty frequently to try to get that done, and they haven't moved on it. We've called a few other pavers in Charlton as well. No one's responded. So if anyone knows a paving company that's looking for it, we're ready to go as soon as we can find someone to do the work. We need someone to pick up the phone.
Right, understandable. This time of year is tough. I'll leave it at that. The crunch is on.
But has here the extension is to 9/30/2021. That already went by.
Right, he made the request before.
Oh, okay.
Just,
So
schedule.
it doesn't sound like something that's gonna get done this season.
There's a threshold of it. They turn it off, right?
Yeah, what does the asphalt,
Middle of November when they shut the plants down, or depend on the weather.
Yeah.
Usually around. Would be profitable. Have it done before. Like to Don's point, maybe you won't. really get-
Yeah, it depends on the paving contract.
you wanna just extend this till next spring?
Just want to have to be a little bit later than that.
Well, late spring, I'm thinking.
Give them the end of May. End
Or
of May.
June.
We have a better chance of getting it. Than right now, if he's looking for a paver, Rob.
James, is the end of May okay?
Yeah, and end of May would be fine. I think that gives, you know, the plants will probably shut down in like a couple weeks. The cold mix will end up just sticking to everyone's tires instead of staying on the actual paving. So yeah, if we could get it done in the spring, that'd be great. And yeah, if anybody knows paving company looking for work, please send them my way, because we want to get this done as much as you guys want to see it get done.
I'll make the motion to extend the paving for Green Gold Group parking lot until May 30th, 2022.
I second.
All right, all those in favor?
Alicia Cheek, aye.
Don Clay, aye.
Jane Vincent,
And I,
Don Smith, aye.
Ross Smith, aye. All right, thank you, James.
Thank you, appreciate it.
All right, next up, we got Property Solutions Real Estate and Contracting LLC, 28 Hammond Hill Road site plan modification. I think they were in a meeting or two ago talking about modifying the to a micro to millings as opposed to asphalt on the common driveway. Am I correct, Randy?
The actual field modification, had to put a different kind of culvert underneath the driveway. Result of the Conservation Commission request. In the meantime, the driveway configuration has been a little different, so we want if they had adequate access, and also the millings and everything that would be a substitute for asphalt, would be an adequate substitute for asphalt, which is the fire department and Kurt Miskus also, which is the park department. And Mike Andrade also agreed millings would be acceptable in this case, used as a paved portion of the property. We'll have to pave the apron of the driveway per the town requirements way, but the balance of the driveway would be millings, you know, pressed down and hardened. They're actually some already on the driveway now, so as a result of vehicles driving over, it's already packed down.
All right, does anyone, and Anyone have any questions? And there's a letter in here from Dennis Castle in our packet as well, right, Randy?
They've been there and they agree, satisfied with it. Access.
Okay.
Okay, no questions?
All right. Anyone say, all right, do I have a motion to approve the site plan modifications for Property Solutions Real Estate and Contracting LLC at 28 Hammond Hill Road?
I'll make a motion to approve the field modification Hill Road site plan.
I'll second that.
All right, all those in favor?
Alicia Cheek, aye.
On Clay, aye.
Jean Vincent, I.
Bill Fontaine, aye.
John Smith, aye.
Ross Mintz, aye, it's unanimous. All right, next up, we have some A&Rs. And we got, Rick Jennings on Brookfield Road.
Board members here, the current bleach and brush, you have, I mean, it's in your SharePoint file, but I don't know. The existing property line goes right through an area years ago, went the garage of the house. That was a mistake, this is something years ago, so basically, they're correcting it now to make it, you know, a conforming lot, so to require setbacks. So
Okay,
it's correcting, it's fixing a
Fixing the-
problem, so it actually makes it, now the house will be meeting the setbacks and everything versus cutting right through the garage, which,
It's not detriment to the other property that they,
no, I think
That's nice.
the neighboring property is the one with the houses, the adjacent property, the house is over, so it's not. I think they actually supplied it on the plan. Yeah, the actual correction is not, there's an adjacent property with a house of the adjacent property, not near that property line.
Yep.
And the other,
This the Jennings Road one? I mean, sorry, the Brookfield Road one?
yes,
Okay.
some person named Iris Jennings.
yeah, not to be confused with brush gang. It's probably the same thing. So we'll see this for signature after the meeting, just couldn't.
yeah, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
On Clay, aye.
Jean Vincent, I.
Bill Fontaine, aye.
John Smith, aye.
Ross Mintz, aye. It is unanimous. All right, next up, we got a A&R from McClure Engineering on Conlin Road.
Yeah, this plan is actually A&R that was done in the town of Vauxhall, but it affects the property on the houses. So they went to the town of Oxford Planning Board, where they're dividing this lot off, which is actually in Oxford town line here. So this balance of land, instead of being one big lot, this all lot off at the town line. So this new lot will be this piece and this larger piece is still in Charlton. So it's still one large piece of land. This cutoff portion is actually in the Oxford side of the property.
Okay. We got you. So this is the piece that they kind of,
Right.
gotcha.
Don't know how they're getting to it, but they're cutting it
Well,
out that way.
it's,
I mean, but there's like a ton of wetlands between the road
Oh,
and
yeah.
the buildable area, so
Yeah,
That's something they'll have to determine.
this,
I mean, they have it's 2/3 of upland on the property, but between the road and where they. And so maybe they'll go, what their game plan is, but maybe they'll go from that property over, I don't know. Or they'll have to get a wetlands crossing from Oxford.
okay,
So it doesn't really affect anything in Charlton, it's the Oxford side of the property where.
So there's no frontage or anything in Charlton on that.
No, in this lot is still one parcel, the Charlton
Right, this is just the
side and
town.
the Oxford side, is still one big parcel of land. Yeah, they're making the property line right at the town line, so,
Yeah. Same ownership.
right.
Better taxes and all.
$8 a year.
Yeah.
I make a motion that we approve the Conklin Road A&R.
I'll second it.
All right, all those in favor?
on Clay, aye.
Aye.
Bill Fontaine, aye.
John Smith, aye.
Ross Smith, aye, it is unanimous. All right, next up, we have a continued public hearing for Blue Water Bay Development LLC site plan application and special permit for proposed warehouse distribution facility located at 53 Sturbridge Road and 0 Sturbridge Road. To allow a building height of greater than 36 feet but no more than 110 feet in the DEP zone on a lot of 75 acres or more. The focus tonight is going to be on community and fiscal impact. Is council there present in person? I'll turn over to him if he is.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Alex is here also, and I think for the three topics for this evening.
Yeah. Good evening, thank you. I'm sharing my screen. Can everyone see it?
Yep.
So I think just to go over our proposed topic, and I know this has evolved, but for today, we actually have our architect, BL Architects, here to walk us through the building footprint, the elevations, some of the other kind of components of the building. And then the town had asked us to prepare a community and fiscal impact statement. This is something that we don't typically do for a land use proposal, and for this project in particular, we have a TIF agreement and a community partnership agreement that's been managed through the Board of Selectmen. So I think we'd like to take the opportunity to walk you through the components of that because it kind of is replacement, in our opinion, of the kind of fiscal impact. So once the architecture wraps up, I'll walk through that, and then I think we want to see if there's any other open items and talk next steps if that's correct. So with that, I'm gonna turn, just again, we like to repeat the project components every time in case there's people listening in. This is just a snapshot of the team. As I mentioned, BL Companies, our architect, is going to be walking through the architecture. You know, we know the other cast of characters here. Just a quick view of where we are project timeline wise. I believe last time we spoke, this was the case, but we have submitted our full MEPA application through a EIR, draft EIR, through the MEPA process. So that submission has been completed. It is kind of the next level of detail to all the state level agencies, as well as our response to the comments that came through the first aspect of that process. So that has been submitted. I think this board and all of the leadership has been copied, as well as other stakeholders in the area. So we look forward to hearing back from MEPA on that, but that was a big push with a lot of components and critical details, many of which are duplicative of what we've said here. But that is done. And we're hoping to hear back from them end of October, early November. And then, so we're here in October, still going through the site plan process with you, continuing with Conservation Commission. coming up in November, which we'll talk about, is a town meeting where we'll discuss the TIF and the community partnership agreement that we're going to present. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Kelly Wang, who is from BL Companies, to present the architectural components. Kelly, are you there? Can you hear everybody?
Yes, I'm here. Can everyone hear me?
So
Yes.
Kelly, I'm controlling the
Seeing
slide.
some nods.
Kelly, I'm controlling.
Okay. Um,
Next slide when you're ready for me to click.
okay, good plan. As Alex said, my name is Kelly Huang. I'm with BL Companies. I'm an architect and the senior project manager for our firm for this project. As I think you've understood at this point, it's a multi-level warehouse facility. It is a main level with upper levels of storage, mainly for the building. And around the base of the building are lower volumes that contain office spaces, dock door spaces, and kind of some accessory type spaces for the building. So Alex, if you want to advance the slide. Give it a moment. So what you're looking at is the overall floor plan of the main level, the ground level of the building. At the top of the page, or at the top of the slide, you'll see the main office block. And this houses the offices. It houses a very large break room, lockers, other support spaces for the facility. The main kind of central area of this plan, you'll see all the material handling equipment, and this is the level where packages are moved in and out of tractor trailers and received and then sent out for to go to the next facility in the chain. To the right of the page, you'll see a line of dock doors, and to the bottom of the page, you'll see another line of dock doors. And that's where, like I said, tractor trailers are coming to this building. They're being unloaded and then also loaded with packaged items to go to the facilities. And at the corners, you'll see some support spaces. There's restrooms and break rooms and electrical rooms and, you know, all the kind of little support areas that are needed. So the majority of the floor is the material handling, as you can see. Next slide. This is a typical upper floor plan for the facility. And this is where the product is stored. It's stored in the center portion of the floor. Around the perimeter, you'll see workstations where employees are picking product and adding product. There's a main storage floor in the center that is operated using robotics that bring the product to and from the associates around the perimeter, so they don't have to walk all over the floor throughout the day. It's all brought to them, and then they package it up. Around the perimeter of this floor is material handling, and then on the corners there are shafts where product is moved down to that main level. So there are 4 levels that are pretty much identical to this. And then these are the exterior, oh, no, that's okay. Go ahead, you can advance, yep. These are the exterior elevations. The building is clad in both precast concrete panels on the lower portions of the building and insulated metal panels on the upper portion of the building. We do have volumes that project and kind of break up the mass of the length of the building. And those are the kind of corner shafts and stair towers that service the building. On the lowest elevation at the bottom of the page, you can see the elevation of the office block. it's a little small, but maybe just pop back, Alex, to that perspective view. That would be just a few slides back. Sorry to do that, but I think it just, there you go. So this is a view showing the front of the building, and this is the parking lot where the associates, the employees are coming in, they're parking here, they're going into that main entrance, which you can see with the blue kind of arch over the entrance. That's the security entrance for everyone coming in and out of the facility. So you can see the office block kind of sits in front of it, has a smaller scale, a more human scale to it. And then behind it is the main mass of the facility. Go back to those elevations if you'd like. And we do use a variety of textures, and there's the accent stripes and colors used to break up the volume of the building, create visual interest, and like I said, just kind of bring it down to a human scale at the ground level. Next. So here's a little more on the different colors and kind of areas of the building. You can see it's a good way to kind of break up the volume using the different shades of gray and then the accent stripe. There's some different textures on the office block as well. Next. And this is just a typical example of what the type of signage that we would like to present for the monument sign out at the street, so that it's visible and gives good direction as to how trucks and different people enter the site and where to go. And that, I think, is the end of my slides.
Kelly, I had a question on one of the, I guess the first top floor view. So above the offices, you mentioned a shaft in the corners.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, so what's the difference between a shaft and an elevator and stairs, and how does product move from one floor to another?
Yep. So Alex, if you want to actually go back to the floor plan just before this sheet. So in the corners, you can see, as Alex, if you want to zoom in to the upper right corner, if you can a little.
Yep, sorry, give me a second. It's a very
It's
render. It's taking a minute.
Thank you, Kelly.
That's probably good. So on the in the oops. There we go. There we go. Okay, so you can see this corner element that wraps the corner. In the very corner is the egress stair that services the building, provides egress along with other egress stairs around the perimeter. Just below that, you'll see these material handling kind of elevators. Those are not meant for people to use. It's strictly meant for packages. They are loaded onto these elevators. They're lifted up to the floor and then unloaded at the floor by associates. And then to the south of that is another type of elevator for packages only. There is an elevator provided for associates to use that's in a different part of the building. And then just to the south of that second set of elevators, you'll see kind of the circles, these squares with circles in them. Those are chutes. So the conveyor belts that wrap around the whole floor feed into these chutes, and then the packages gently kind of slide down that chute to the lower levels.
Does that make sense? Did you
Yeah.
try to kind of?
That's what I was wondering. Yeah.
do it with my hand.
So there is a elevator for people for like, say, somebody with handicap.
Correct. Yes, there absolutely is elevators for associates to use, and those are in the kind of the break room areas at the front and the back of the floor.
And how tall is each floor, Kelly?
There's a clear floor area at the upper floors that's about 9'4", and then there's structure and lighting above it. So trying to remember the floor to floors off the top of my head, but there's a clear floor area in those upper floors that is just under 10 feet. The main level, this kind of ground level, is a floor to floor height of around 22 feet, I believe 22 or 23 feet. And there are mezzanine levels in this space as well for various material handling purposes. One of them is kind of roughly the bottom half of that floor plan. It's a level where there's multiple chutes. All those little squares you see are multiple chutes, and it's a way of sorting all the packages. So they go down the right chute, and then they're stacked into a pallet, and then that pallet gets moved to the correct truck, and it's out of the facility.
Okay, thank you.
So that's what we're looking at near the, in this case, the top of the screen before the employee area. It's like this whole conveyor belt system.
Am I pointing to this correctly with my hand here, Kelly? This is the mezzanine.
Yeah. That's the mezzanine with all the individual openings used for sorting. On the upper portion of the screen, yep, where Alex is putting her cursor, that's where various conveyor belts are, and there's workstations situated in and around them. So the packages are, it's all very highly automated in terms of directing a package to the right spot. And then it's taken by an associate and either stacked or put to a pallet, so then it can be loaded on the correct truck.
And
Complex system.
so the chutes go down and the elevators bring the product up to the upper floors.
Yes, that is correct.
Thank you.
Anything else on architecture? Any questions, comments, concerns?
Are you having any signage on the building? Just whatever it is, you should. Go ahead.
There will be there'll be 2 illuminated signs on the building that we'll obviously work through to make sure they're approved. Over the main entrance that the employees are entering is one sign that's right over that entrance where you see that word logo. And then on one of the upper corners of the building is a second tenant logo sign. Those are both illuminated signage.
And we'll verify compliance with the bylaw.
Yeah,
The details and if release required, we'll see at that time.
Where's the
I
lighting?
didn't hear all that, but
Where's the lighting gonna be on the side of the building? Is that where these rectangle boxes are? Or is it gonna be down?
the building mounted sign, those boxes right there where Alex's cursor is, that's actually a scupper opening.
Oh, okay.
For it's the daylighting required for roof drainage, so we know when there's an issue on the roof.
Right.
Lighting on the building itself is around basically the main level. There's emergency lighting at the egress doors, And then there's lighting in the, on the site to illuminate the parking areas and the truck yards.
Okay, but for the building, everything will be down at the lower levels, with the exception of possibly the tenant logo being illuminated.
Yes, that's correct.
There's no kind of monumental architectural lighting at
Okay.
the upper levels. It's all just for basically visibility for entrance.
Now, the sign that you showed on that on the very last slide at the end of your presentation, Kelly, is that sign, that's on down by the road, right?
Correct. That is the monument sign at the road.
Now is that gonna, you're gonna only be able to see that sign when you pull into the site, or will it be visible if you're driving, if you're heading east or west on Route 20?
It should be visible at the entrance from the road. We'll place this sign, so it is visible and does give everyone a good indication in terms of truck traffic and car traffic, which way to go, so they don't mix.
Okay, gotcha.
Or they mix, yeah.
Well, actually, I think I know where Ross is going with this. If you're on Route 20, if you're a truck driver and you're unfamiliar with the area, is there gonna be any indication to the site? Because this is gonna be parallel to the road from one end, based on the arrows on the sign. This sign will be parallel to Route 20? You know,
I would have to double check on a site plan. That's the preferred, so you can see it as you're driving up and down the main road, is that it's the most visible point. I'm not sure exactly how we placed it on our site plan, but that's the goal.
I know that there's a facility, sorry. I know that there's,
Sorry.
no, I know one of your facilities in Connecticut actually has a sign at the road's point that said, truck drivers, ignore your GPS, please use this entrance for deliveries. And apparently all the truck drivers were going to the wrong spot because the GPS brought them there. And that was apparently extremely helpful, according to my friends who live out there, because the trucks were wandering aimlessly trying to find the entrance because they were following their GPS. So to Randy and Ross's point, something and I realize this probably isn't your purview, but something at the roadside would be incredibly helpful so that the truck drivers on Route 20 know exactly where to go.
yeah.
Yes, and they also, once the facility is up and operational, they do everything to make sure that all the truck drivers that are frequenting the facility understand exactly where they're supposed to go and how they're supposed to get in and out. But if there's other signage requests, we can obviously look at that.
Yeah, and I would say the only other thing is that this monument sign is obviously conceptual. We'll make sure the directions are very clear on the sign. And
Yes.
we have a single entrance for trucks. There is no other entrance. So it'll say all trucks, associates, and then they'll be directed to split off internally on the loop road.
Is there a plan for
Alex,
anything?
I can chime in here, Alex, if you'd like to. This is John Perry, everyone from Laying In. And this particular sign does show up on the site plans. If you look at CS 101 on the site plans, and I don't know if you have that there in the room, or we've presented that before, but the idea is that it would be perpendicular to the road so that you can see, the logo as you're coming from both sides. And I think, Kelly, this is, a double-sided
It is
sign,
yeah.
right? So you can see it coming from east and the west as well. And then we'll have additional signage more internal to the site that direct, associates in trucks, because, obviously we have our one main road coming off of Route 20 there. As you come up, trucks go one way and all the associates go the other way. So we'll have clear signage to make sure everyone knows where they're going.
I mean, employees are gonna know, used to it, driving it every day. It's the trucks that are unfamiliar with the area. So better to have it perpendicular so they know the entrance is coming out.
Yes.
They see it before they get there.
To the chair. Ross,
Yo, go right ahead, John.
is it Kelly? Kelly, can you just explain why the colors were picked for the building? Is there a scheme, or how'd you come up with the colors for the building?
We get the color scheme from our end user. You know, that's their, you know, their kind of logo and kind of branding colors. So that's the colors that we're using for them.
Any thought about making it as unobtrusive, because it's going to be a very tall building for the surrounds for people, you know, blending it somehow more into the scenery of the backdrop that's there? Is that taken into consideration at all?
The palette is fairly neutral. I mean, that's the goal, is to not make it stick out too, you know, in any kind of like crazy way. So the reason for the palette remaining fairly neutral, you know, obviously there's the branding color that we're putting on there, and it's a minimal kind of addition to the building, but it does, like I said, kind of, it's the desire of the end user to kind of have that look to the building, and so it kind of carries across other facilities that they've built throughout the United States.
I can add one more thing, just in terms of the prototype. Obviously, it is a large building, so that's where, and it is what's affected all over the country. And when designing this prototype, the goal was to not have big white blank areas, right? That you want to have the type of shapes and volume that Kelly mentioned, as well as the different textures, the range of color, because that's actually an effect that blends more rather than stark, flat, white, bright colors. And I know that the user has put a fair amount of effort into kind of studying that and making that the case across the prototype.
John, are you more concerned of the blue on the top?
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's.
More blue on the bottom, less blue on the top, is that
Right.
Yeah, it's
kind of what I was
know,
thinking too?
I know it's their color. No, they appreciate their colors, but maybe other people that are mine might not appreciate the colors as much as Amazon does.
Have they ever had a case, you know, if they put the stripe on the lower part of the building, or is it typically on top? I mean, it seems like all the ones I've seen, they've been on top. But I don't
Yeah,
know.
it's a prototype, right? So it's typically part of the parapet and, you know, a relatively minimal strip, but I think just having the ID is important for any user that invests in the facility to
For the
make sure
branding.
it's, yeah, make sure the brand is.
And if you think about it, the blue is at the top edge of the building, and on a clear blue sky day, it would probably, you know, not be as pronounced as it is on a white background of a sheet that we're showing here.
Do you have any renderings with it? With the, I think the first rendering, did you have that with a sky background or anything? Computer read, do you have that onto an actual picture of the site?
Kinda. I mean, you know, we're doing the views kind of to help people understand like the overall kind of volumes and how it's broken up on the building. You know, if there, you know, there are other facilities, you know, around, and you could, you know, probably see them and see if that, you know, really fades. Like I said, on certain days it's not going to, but you know, it's, you know, if we needed to develop a view kind of showing that, we could, if it helps you guys.
If you could, that'd be great, just for, I guess, the visual. if possible.
An article I printed, very small and hard to look at, but it's a similar facility. Florida.
Mhm.
Huge article on it, and it kind of shows it like with the green around it and everything.
Yeah, doesn't look like that stripe is.
When when it kind of blends better with the green around it and everything than it does with that. Like you said, on this picture, the white background kind of makes it pop.
But in a more
Yeah.
contextual, we have, I mean, say it doesn't exist, but it's
Yeah,
relatively minimal in terms of. You can also try to pull up some photos of other facilities constructed, but.
Any other areas of inquiry on architecture or community benefits?
I just had one question with the sign you referred to as the monument sign up front. Do you have a approximate size of that?
And is
It's
there
on
gonna
our
be
site.
one on 169 also, or a smaller version, or what's the plan for that?
John Perry, do you mind confirming the monument signage plan on both 169 and Route 20? I believe we have them
They
on
have
both.
some dimensions there.
Yeah.
Yeah, let me pull it up and check.
But it's 12 feet by 12 by 8.
But to reiterate, we're not seeking permission as part of the permits presently to build a 12 by 8 sign. It's, we'll look at the bylaw, the final determination, and if additional relief required, then we'll come in with more details on the sign.
It's probably gonna go through a similar process as treehouse.
Yeah.
New sign.
ZBA.
Yeah, to the ZBA if it doesn't meet the bylaw.
And as designed, I don't see any solar panels. There's no solar generation on the facility on the roof. Any plans is Amazon in that direction?
The structure of the roof is designed to allow for a solar installation in the future. And I know there's been some discussions on that through our NEPA process, but the building and also the switchgear, the electrical switchgear is designed to accept a solar installation. So the building is solar ready when it's completed.
Install would be a separate.
What are they gonna use for a fuel source now for heating?
It's an all-electric building,
All
so
electric.
the HVAC is completely electric. There's no gas or propane.
We probably want those panels yesterday.
I thought there were propane tanks on site.
Minor, but the
Okay.
HVAC is all electric. It's green
pumps, sure.
facility.
Well, your inside forklifts and dollies run electrically.
I believe they're high fuel tank storage, minor amounts for forklifts.
The forklifts are run on lithium ion batteries,
Battery charged.
so they're recharged through electrical power.
Any geothermal wells, or are these all air source heat pumps?
They are air sourced. There was an investigation of the geothermal in the MEPA process, and this facility, the site and everything, it just is very cost prohibitive to do any kind of geothermal for this particular facility.
Serious wells.
Yeah, a lot of digging. Yeah. Great, thank you, Kelly.
Thank you.
All right, does the board have any more questions on the architecture? All right, Alex, I guess you can move forward.
Yeah, so I think, it's good to talk about all these technical matters, but I'm happy here to talk about some of the benefits to the community related to this project. I know there are impacts, but I think that one of the biggest impacts is obviously the opportunity for Charlton from a fiscal and community impact standpoint. So I'm gonna go over loosely, I think some of you were at the Board of Selectmen meeting when this was discussed, but just in terms of what we're talking about today in terms of revenue and additional items that are going to come with this project and be put forth to vote. You know, this project is subject to a tax incremental financing agreement, which is a type of agreement that an end user, in this case, Amazon and their partners, us and Capital, are going to come up with a mutually beneficial tax agreement that stages tax payments over time in order to give back to the massive capital investment that's happening on this property. So just as a summary of what's been discussed through the Board of Selectmen, this is a process that was run by Andrew Golis, the town administrator, as well as the Board of Selectmen in collaboration with Brad Griggs, who's actually on the phone from Amazon, as well as Blue Water and Bill and everybody. So as far as what the summary is, this is kind of the snapshot of what it is. So, it's a 10-year agreement. We've outlined 20 years here because that's kind of this typical life of one of these leases that and occupancy agreements that Amazon has. So over the 20-year term, inclusive of that 10-year tax increment finance agreement, there will be an estimated $65.5 million for Charlton as additional revenue. And this is inclusive of both real estate and an estimate of personal property tax. There's two different assessment processes. This is obviously all subject to the rates and assessment and depreciation schedules that come around with this, but this is a kind of good estimate of what the value of this project is. At year one, that's $2.8 million. And then over the 20-year average annual, it's about 3.2 million. The 2.8 today represents 8% of the total expenditure of Charlton general fund as of fiscal year 20. This is a massive impact to the town budget and the revenues. We're also going to talk about a community partnership agreement. These are specific items that operator and end user are going to be contributing back to various services that the town has identified as critical, you know, coming part and parcel with this project. And that's about 34% of the abatement returned in the form of community partnership agreement items. So as far as just the graphic scale here, this shows what the is of real estate and personal property, first on the 10 years and then at 20 thereafter. The undulation is related to depreciation schedule on personal property. But as you can see, there's good growth in the first 10 years and then great growth thereafter once it expires. We always like to see how does this compare kind of the top taxpayers in the area. Shows sort of year one Project Patriot revenue, that $2.8 million at year one relative to the top commercial taxpayers. This is again both personal property and real estate. Number of folks on this or businesses on this list already have a pilot agreement, a TIF agreement, or some sort of host agreement with the town of Charlton. So this project again, Project Patriot, is over almost 3 times the next highest taxpayer. So this is a meaningful contributor to the town budget. We also like to show, even if it seems pointless, the relative taxes to what exists on the property today. So this property is generating about $10,000 a year in taxes. This graphic shows total 65.5 over 20 years relative to the current tax rate of $10,000 escalated times 20 years. That's it's just there's no comparison for what additional revenue this means for the town of Charlton. This is an illustration of kind of, again, in the overall general fund expenditures budget of $30 million from fiscal year 20. This project represents 2.8 million of that. It's a significant slice of that pie, and that's money for Charlton to spend on services, things that are in need that it needs. You know, we've seen towns use this type of funding for all sorts of creative uses. This is just the schedule that sort of illustrates the year by year. As you can see, again, the TIF percentage escalates in year 1 through year 10 and then stops at year 11. Personal property is depreciated based on a basic assessor's look at how personal property might be appreciated. But again, this is all subject to final assessment and rates and so forth set forth by the town of Charlton. So that's kind of what the revenue on the tax element looks like. So with projects like this, understanding that, you know, it's a big project, it's going to have impacts. In addition to the revenue, the town and Amazon have worked through key items that are important to be covered as part of this project through a supplemental community partnership agreement. This is equal to another $10+ million. So of that, that includes $0.3 million of traffic and roadway improvements. These are this is the value of the roadway improvements we've talked about it with this board, right? The Route 20 corridor, the lane widening, the new pavement, the upgrade to the system, signage, lighting, safety enhancements. This is about a $5.3 million investment just to effectuate those traffic improvements. In addition to those improvements, the town will be contributing $1.5 million to sidewalk and streetscape repair. I know that's something that has come up with this board, just importance of walkability, streets, sidewalks. We can't do anything on Route 20 until Mass DOT effectuates its whole corridor. This is a good give back to the areas where there is, you know, pedestrian and transit oriented locations in Charlton. So this is additional money that will be used for that specific purpose. There'll be $750,000 put towards athletic facilities, band shell, and recreation. $1.5 million to support local Charlton schools STEM education programs. And then another $780,000 in specific public safety investment. So this is training, equipment, the types of things that would be required to have a community host a project like this. So that's kind of where the extra $10 million is. There's also a separate agreement outside of the town agreement with Cape and Hill Sanctuary to support their educational programming, trail maintenance, all of the sustainability education, and an of the camps there. So that's been covered under a separate agreement with Amazon Hill, which is in the works, and that's on top of the landscaping, the tree planting, the access to some of the wetlands. This has been a really important piece of Amazon being here and being a neighbor to that abutter. So, you know, the next slide sort of go into detail about this. I'm not going to go into too much. Again, this was presented at the Board of Selectmen, but everyone's seen the traffic improvements that we presented here. The community, the sidewalk and streetscape repair. This is to the pedestrian areas. Again, Andrew can speak more to this about where specifically these items are going. But this is just, you know, for your information. This is the items that have been listed through collaboration with the town and the fire department on what kind of public safety needs are going to come from this project. Like we said before, athletic facility, $400,000 contribution, and a $150,000 contribution to the arts band shell. And as I mentioned, Cape and Hill, which is about $400,000 all in. So as far as other town benefits associated with this, I mean, these are specific to the TIF agreement, revenue, community partnership items. There are other town benefits that come with projects of this scale. Obviously, one of the biggest is local permanent jobs. We estimate that there's about 1,000 permanent jobs associated with this project, 900 for full-time associates with an 18-hour average starting wage. That is plus day one benefits, healthcare, dental, 401k. A corporate package is given to an associate, the same as someone working in Seattle. There are about 100 estimated managerial and technical jobs and operational oversight jobs. That's about $60,000 a year. And the way that this flows through communities and within the radius of Charlton is, that looks like $1 million of spending in this area by employees that are getting food, drinks, supporting the local business. And this is an estimate that assumes only a fraction of these employees spend what's normal on any commuting day. So I know we've talked a lot about small business support. I mean, this kind of employment comes with that. Temporary impacts, construction related. So, these projects draw from subcontractors that are typically within the region, Sidewalk especially. There's a number of local subs that get really good work out of these types of facilities. There's 1,500 plus direct construction work between the building core and shell and the fit out that comes and does later. In Massachusetts, the construction wage is a good job. It's about $75,000 on average per year. That again ricochets through a community and has output spending associated with it. Other town key contributions, we've talked about the Route 169 improvements, but there will be a significant building department fee associated with this, probably over $1 million, which can also be a substitute to a general fund to be used by the town for whatever resources it needs, as well as over $500,000 in sewer connection for, again, use in those departments for improvements that could be needed. Other key benefits, we talked about solar readiness. This project in particular is all electric, which is exciting for a facility of this size to be on a cleaner energy source. There is electrical vehicle charging. We've talked about the transit efforts that are going to go as part of this project, and local hiring, right? These projects, both in construction and the permanent, start local and spread, within radiuses through hiring events, recruitment, etc. And that's pretty much it. As far as what we can use podcast is, we're working on all sorts of ways to try to get the word out, but insofar as anyone tuning in here, we'll be holding information sessions between now and November 15th, twice a week, 5 o'clock on Wednesdays, 12:30 on Thursdays, dropping a mailer, hopefully. And, we appreciate everyone posting on Facebook. I know you hear from me on Facebook regularly, so I appreciate reposting and getting the word out, because we do want to on the impacts as well as the benefits here. So any questions about that?
So all this will be presented to the town in November.
Yes.
Town meeting.
So we'll be doing presentations, overview of the similar qualities. The way that I've been running the information sessions, I focus on both this as well as the progress we've made here to make sure traffic questions are answered. Anything that anybody wants to know that we've covered in this room gets also.
Okay. And they've been lightly attended to this point, hopefully.
Yeah, hopefully as it gets closer and we have more channels for outreach, that more people come, but yeah, we need help spreading the word. We would do a lot on Facebook. There was a little more involvement on, the first town meeting item, but not much, honestly.
Where
is
word
that?
of mouth gets out there.
Yeah.
Where is that posted, Alex?
We have a website called opportunityforcharlton.com. Sorry.
Well, I mean, for just not the 10 people that come to these
Yeah,
meetings.
there's.
So our website's very hard to negotiate. So people.
We have a website dedicated to this We have a Facebook page. We post all of our presentations on the Charlton Happenings Facebook page, which has a fair amount of followers. And then the recorded session, I posted the recording as well.
But nothing on our website. the
I
town's
think
website.
Andrew may have something
I think we were trying to put something on the homepage.
on the homepage, yeah.
The town site.
Yeah.
There's, I mean, there's, as you go,
It's
recent
hard.
projects or something, just on that front page so somebody can hit it, the page. I don't, there's meetings and there's,
Well,
I can't even find out where anything is.
the all the information for this project is on the planning board page.
Yeah.
What are you talking about?
The
The
planning
Board
board
of
page,
Selectmen
but you have to
page,
go and go. It's,
To get to it.
you have to honestly ferret it out to get to it.
Yeah.
People who use
I don't know.
computers and a savvy are able to find it, but.
So Andrew's on. I believe.
Andrew, do you have what, where you posted these?
Yeah, so, sorry, so on the town's Facebook page, or I'm sorry, on the town's, town website, right on the main page, there's actually a graphic link that says Amazon project information. It's a dedicated website right off that has all the information that we have relative to the community partnership agreement and anything, and it also directly links to all the documents that the planning board is putting up there. So if there's anything that you guys want to see, fortunately I can't share from my end, but I don't know, Alex, if you can go up to the town website and pull that up, you might be able to share it with the members of the board in the room.
It is there.
On the town website. Yeah. Maybe we just read it.
Anything you can do to get the word out, the town would be, not everybody's on Facebook, not everybody's on computers.
Well,
not
take
everybody's
advantage.
Emailing will really help if that's.
I wanted to sign across the street, in front of the library.
Yeah.
So where is it on
And the
the?
information
It's right down
session
at the bottom,
posted
I
so
found
that
it.
people want to.
So if you go to the town website,
Yeah.
it's right on the first called Amazon TIF and development info.
Yep.
I think I've shown
Right
it on the
there.
screen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we have our own website called Opportunity for
All right,
Charlton.com that we
we-
post.
These questions all the time. So you
Yeah.
just go back. Alex,
So it's right
please.
here. If you're on just townofcharlton.net, it's this.
It's right there.
little
It's
map
right
icon.
on the home.
It's also came from.
Believe so, yeah.
Any feedback from your meetings, or they've been so lightly attended?
No, I mean, we had some attendees, we had, 5 people, they were very quiet. I asked several times, I paused for questions. Nobody had any.
I've dialed into a couple and they were lightly attended to.
Yeah, but I mean, the last time we did it, it was just a matter of doing them often
Hmm.
and getting the word out. And I think we're doing a little bit more earlier on this one. Obviously, it's important and we want people to understand it, but
I think you haven't posted where it's a link on the website, and people that are asking, like townspeople that we can point to.
point to. Yeah, I think that from the town's standpoint, it's probably this link, and then from our standpoint, we have similar information represented at opportunityforcharlton.com, which is the same site we had for the zoning change too.
Yeah, that's important. I mean, if people choose not to participate. It's there. Thank you for doing that. That's.
They'll still take the opportunity to complain.
Yeah,
Yeah. Wait
unfortunately
till
for
it'll be
you.
somebody say, I never heard of that.
First thing.
It's always the way.
I didn't see it, so.
It's not the lack of time.
So this material that Al's just presented pretty comprehensively is important to the way your bylaw is set up and balancing the benefits of the community against any potential impacts and that. So if there's any related questions or comments that anybody wants to make to that, I'd be glad to hear them now.
I just have one comment, and I noticed it on the side, and it's here again, where it says public safety equipment. It seems like it's geared heavily toward fire. What, how do the police fare in that?
So, Andrew, I don't know if you want to speak to that, but I think that this represented kind of comparable agreements and a typical contribution for life safety. I think that's all.
Yeah. I guess to that point, a lot of the public safety investment stuff related to police operations is more long-term operational. So it might, it's stuff that we would address through the additional taxation, where the fire department needs are more of a one-time hit. So that's why you see more investment in fire department on specifically the community partnership agreement versus police.
I just have a question about that, not to get into a whole public safety where the money goes. As far as like if money be generated one time to the fire department, I mean, they just got a ladder truck. I mean, the ladder truck can reach that high for that. What are the one-time things do they need? Whereas when you look at the police, they're gonna be more traffic generated from not only this project, the project down the street at the Sturbridge line.
Yeah, so it's actually for the purchase of a new rescue truck, which is it's about 2 years out on their capital plan. And, specifically for responding to kind of like mechanical accidents and traffic and motor vehicle accidents, that would be the primary response piece. So that's why that's actually a big chunk of that the $650,000 that's outlined there.
All right, thank you. Thank you, Andrew, for being specific on that. And while we're on, I just want to make note of the packet that we have and the letter that we have from the police chief. Everyone on the board has gone through it. Just that Chief Dowd has just made some points, which some of them make sense, as all of them do. And you mentioned that bridge down there, it goes over Katie, but that's a state thing with that, just to address that. And then he does make a great point. If there is a backup on 20, it does affect the side roads or secondary roads here in town. So I just want to make note of that, especially the letter that he wrote to us.
I guess my point, excuse me, the money is great. You don't get a good product and you don't get that bridge fixed or other things fixed. In the end, we're going to end up spending else to fix these things. So this is the process, trying to get the best deal for the town. The money is great, no doubt, but if that bridge is not addressed or other issues aren't addressed, and further down the line, it's taken upon us or the town to address them. That's a major issue. That disaster right there. Traffic will be a disaster for a while until things are straightened out. Just going back to the traffic, I believe a lot of the intersections are graded out as a D. Is that what they said on the traffic analysis? And to just aspire to have it, to keep it this. You shoot for an A, you get a B. You shoot for a D, you really get an A.
Well, we tried when we started this back, and I thought we would close out and extend with regard to that. I think that the improvements being made, part of the 5.3 million that Alex is referring to, are benefits that the entire community, the project. The adaptive controls are important for traffic flow, to be able to respond real time with delays that have the impacts in the past or presently to your other town roads. So it has been a comprehensive response and been reviewed by your peer review consultant as to that. So it's certainly not suggested in any fashion in any of our presentation that there aren't an impact on the community. Things will be different in some fashion. We think that the scale tips dramatically, that the benefits exceed that. If with regard to police versus fire in some fashion, the balancing, we see some of that as a decision makes not just police and fire, but police, fire, schools and everything else with the additional tax revenue, the 8% increase in annual year-on-year revenue certainly isn't Amazon's job to spend, it's your community's job to spend in what you think is important, whatever that may be. Is a long-term benefit, because that's an amount that's now, as Alex just went detailed, that's only going to grow over a period of time. Really becomes somewhat of an annuity because the likelihood of the facility being in a period of time beyond the 20 years is certainly just pure logic. So
Just wanted to make a side note on improvements through 20 aren't done by the town, that's the state, but it's affected, it affects the town. We have no control over that. The problems are Route 20, that's a state road. We have, no matter how much money this town gets, we can't fix that problem.
Right. I would channel my inner Jeff Durko, he's not here. I mean, the Route 20 corridor is a mass DOT initiative that we hope they take on, but our existing
Your 2 entrances will be approved. That's about it, right?
Oh,
And the adaptive lights.
Right, I think we can't discount how impactful those lights will be, as well as of the safety components that are part of these intersections. It's not, I mean, you talk about safety, that was one of the key elements of the traffic study, and many of the enhancements we're doing are improving safety in many of these intersections. So, that's again taken through our multiple rounds of peer review and response between the engineers, but I don't want to lose sight of the investment that we're talking about. It is in front of the property, but it's also well beyond that.
I do, and I appreciate we do have some, we'll get a $650,000 fire engine that no place to put it in. That's kind of what we're dealing with.
But as Mark said, that's where the revenue is really helpful. To
Let's
decide.
hope so.
Yeah.
All right, is there any more questions from the board? All right, hearing none, seeing none. I guess council going forward, what do you guys have?
let's tell you where I think we are, and see if you agree that we're all in the same place. When we talk about what we do next. When we started this process, we identified 6 particular areas of potential impacts to the community, either directly to people in the area or to the greater community, that we knew were on our list to present to convince you that we had dealt with those and you knew what the impacts were. We started with that as we had in the spring with the and looked at that and then gave you some of that information. You had seen that obviously before in the spring and before the town meeting. We had 3 meetings regarding traffic to try to winnow it down. And I think at the last meeting when we tried to wrap up, we indicated it didn't have any remaining questions or issues with regard to traffic. Similarly, we had civil, the comprehensive work done by Lang and Engineering and John Perry and reviewed by Graves. And I think we're able to close that out after that process, that seems to be in order. We talked in terms this evening of the architecture and the community fiscal impacts, and we're glad to continue that discussion here tonight if there remain any questions while we have the people here. And we also, that you would have concerns relative to the acoustical impacts, and we presented fairly detailed, that Ostergaard presented to you. And there were a couple of remaining questions, and he submitted in mid-September, I think it was the 15th, but don't hold me that date, a written memorandum to your board addressing what I refer to as the traffic-related acoustical issues in some fashion. Ben's actually on the line to see anything remaining with regard to that. Other than that, what we're hearing at least is that we've answered your questions. And we can start to talk about, if there are questions, where we go next.
In my mind, the traffic is not totally answered. I mean, do we have a definite 3 signals, traffic signals?
The simple way to put it is, if there's no signal, there's no present problem. You're not going to have ability to proceed with what we've presented to you if there's not a Route 20 signal. Now, if the only reason I qualify it is with the law school, but the only reason I qualify it, if for some reason Mass DOT says no signal, we're not suggesting that we wouldn't be back here to talk about something. Whatever that something might be, I have no idea, because all of our eggs are in the basket that we're going to have a signal. But this project that you see, the special permit for the height, it will not proceed without a signalized intersection, hard, period.
At Route 20,
At Route 20.
and not one at 169.
It will not be 169.
May I, there was one third thing I wanted to remind you of, a request to the traffic monitoring 6 months and then continue for every 6 months. That period, I think that was a request I had mentioned with Jeff. And our view from the board, I believe, is that this the high lift exercise, these traffic reports will all right out of the traffic monitoring system that's going to be put in place, because they're capturing this traffic. So it's really just a reporting exercise that we'd like to see, not laying down a strip across the road and getting a count from Mass DOT, but so relatively low lift exercise for blue water.
And maybe it's worth just talking about a little bit, make sure we're on the same page. We don't control the signals, but we can try everything we can do. That's not release it every 6 months to you,
Right.
and figure that out. That's not a problem. What's been talked about is the post-occupancy monitoring, which is laying the proverbial strip, or actually more accurately having somebody sitting out there, counting directions and everything else. That's an annual process.
Yeah, so that was the request, Mark, to change that to a 6 process, because I don't think it is going to be somebody sitting out there with a clipboard. You're going to capture that information right from the traffic signals that have been updated.
No, the traffic monitoring, as we fully expect MassDOT will anticipate, will have live, real-time, real data, rely upon something off-site to determine how many vehicles are leaving the site in a given particular hour, because it breaks it into hour periods. So that information wouldn't come from the lights, from the lights in some fashion. So it's somebody monitoring it, both with equipment and I believe, at least presently, it's with interpretation. So, and it's a 7-day period for 24 hours. So it's not the same light pole as something from a traffic.
Right. So can we make that not a yearly process, then just make that to a 6-month frequency rather than an annual process? Because I think that process, having such a delay, just then there's probably a 2 to consolidation, preparation of the report process, and then the intervention to actually do something, and then, you know, another year before you get another snapshot. I think it's more beneficial to the town to get more of a trend than just a year-long snapshot. That's why I'm pointing to if we can even change that traffic study to capturing the data through the traffic monitoring system and the traffic lights that you're putting up, rather than the person sitting on the side of the road with a clipboard and the
Yeah.
strips across the road.
There may be a way to do that. You know, I can try to channel my inner Jeff. I'm not real good at trying to make a commitment to it, so let us visit that.
Yeah,
Bring it
yeah.
back next week.
And I think that was a request to Jeff. I thought he was clear about how I asked the question, how I made that request.
All right, let's make sure we come back with an answer there too. Thank you.
So what exactly is that monitoring going to capture? How many cars drive through the intersection?
Yeah,
But it's not gonna show backup, like the backup last Saturday to Treehouse. It's not gonna show that.
well, neither would the traffic count. Imagine traffic, count,
That's my point. It's really not showing the problems.
but it would
It's just showing
show,
the traffic count going through the intersection.
but it'll show the actual versus the forecasted volume of traffic that there was a commitment to in the plan.
That's the key.
Yeah.
It's not to measure what traffic conditions are everywhere,
Mhm.
because traffic conditions could be different because somebody else goes down the road.
Mhm.
What it measures is whether what we project traffic, particularly the 2 peak hours, is consistent with what actually happens. And that's why it has to be at the driveway, because that's what we projected at the
Right.
driveway. So it does that.
Yeah.
If traffic backs up a half mile down the street, but our numbers were right,
Mhm.
there may be other intervening causes, it could be a lot of things, but you know, what we're accountable for was that the numbers that Jeff used end up being, you know, mathematically accurate.
Didn't say he was gonna do a study at Christmas also or something during peak times.
Yeah, well.
We could make that part of the contingency position.
Yeah, approvals too, so.
So we should probably come up with a list of things that we had discussed earlier about what should be part of the site plan approval. Contingencies,
Yeah.
things like that, discuss that before we move forward more on that, so maybe we can plan something out of that
Put
next
it
time.
together and
Should
share it
come up-
with the board.
Yeah, come up with a list of what you have, let's review it, and then we can make corrections, revisions.
Okay.
There was also talk about doing additional sound monitoring at off times, because I think we captured peak sound and differences with the construction. We really didn't look at, you know, the quiet of the night that will no longer be quiet. I don't know if they've done additional.
Yeah,
Things that-
but I've had a discussion with Alice, with the property owner. Has requested that, but right now, during the daytime, there's construction going on next to us. They can't really monitor it at the
Yeah,
moment.
there's a couple things going on. I think that we tried to address, I think, what your concern was, and just to Ben should chime in here, but the survey was taken for a 24-hour period. The way that the acoustical engineering and analysis goes is it's, you know, there's lots of sound fluctuation, and they test for a worst case scenario along kind of a mean. And I can let Ben Mueller, if you're still here, kind of respond to that, but I thought that was maybe what the question was.
The
Not
question is
when-
the sound for this facility is going to be a steady pretty much throughout 20 hours. The sound at, 2 o'clock in the morning on that street, is a lot different than it is on at peak times or during the day even.
Right.
So there's going to be a larger delta in sound production or sound increase at night than there will be during the day. And what is that difference? And concerned about some of the houses in the neighborhood and that just with the constant noise that they will be getting compared to what they have now.
Ben, are you still here? I see you, but maybe you need to go on off mute.
Then you're on mute.
Yeah, you're on mute, Ben.
Ben Mueller.
Gee, but
Can you hand-
Sorry.
maybe it's
I do- I don't wanna leave.
TV.
Thanks.
So that was kind of what I was bringing up, and I'm not sure if he addressed it in a recent letter or a recent, I don't know, plan, but that's something that I'm hoping we can get looked at. He's not there.
Yeah, and 1 second, let me just go try to get him to chime in,
Sorry.
because we did talk about this, and I'm gonna make sure we answer your questions.
Are there any other concerns by the board? So if the applicant could have something ready from next meeting?
What,
Right.
I was just gonna. Oh, we've actually been keeping raised and we kind of responded to. We've got some draft conditions put together that we'll share with Randy this week and we'll
Okay.
have some communications directly with him on regard to those. So you'll have those to work with him all over and see. Moving forward. So.
Okay, so
All right.
I just,
Alex, have you been able to contact Ben?
no,
Alex is so. Mr. Smith at point.
we're gonna hammer this again. I don't think there's enough interaction with Charlton City with your site. And that's what I feel. They're gonna have 900 employees up there. They gotta grab a lunch. They walk down the hill. There's no sidewalks. And have people wandering around there without any safe place for them to travel by foot from your facility into Charlton City. They can go on the sidewalk and fall in Katy Brook because there's only they're not to make light of it, but there are serious issues with that. And I understand it's you guys are in our orbit. My God, you guys do a lot of neat think out of the box to make things happen. To me, and I've spoken to the merchants down there. They have a flow of traffic, pedestrian, bike, something back and forth there 2 hours. So at a lunch hour, a lunch break, 300 or 400 people jump in their cars and try to go to Ted's for a sandwich. It would be a disaster. A disaster.
we're stopping for breakfast.
Stopping for breakfast or just that. To me, that the main impact of that, and I hammered it the first time we talked about it, and it's been kind of just, and I understand the benefits for the town. I understand all of that, and it's awesome. But to have it as part of it, we want you to be talking. We don't want you just to be was on sign sticking 100 feet out of the ground. It's just, to me, that is the most important aspect of this to be successful in this town.
And I agree with John. I think that was a missed opportunity.
Well, I'm not sure I describe it as missed. I would describe it more as one that has challenges that can't be overcome. We talked specifically, John Perry's still on the benefit. We can go back there as to some of the physical impediments to be able to create an entire sidewalk system. The impediments to creating a sidewalk system, even on the drive, because of Americans with Disabilities Act requirements. So I don't think it's fair to say that it was a missed opportunity. We've looked at it. We've provided for the possibility of it in the future. We can certainly, as part of our education process with employees, you may have noticed on the plan, there's a first training day facility room that's used. So there's active training, communicate that's the community and how to use it. Are coming, perhaps picking up their sandwich on the way to work instead of planning to run out during their break and grab it at some period of time. So I think there's things we can do to try to interact with the community, and we continue to look at those. But we do have some physical things that we just can't change, and we certainly can't, certainly Amazon can't ignore the law with regard to things of that nature. So
Again, and I also want to iterate, we heard that and really looked at this, and we were able to provide sidewalk readiness in front of the property that we own, but we don't control from our site to Charlton City. It's owned by other people, right? And it's a Mass DOT safety issue. We can't install sidewalks in places that don't have connection. It's a liability for everybody. For us, the real opportunity for interaction and pedestrian access is through the bus station. And I understand that that feels far away, but transit orientation in this town with a stop at our site that's going to be coordinated with local public transportation to bring people in and out is the opportunity where you don't have sidewalks, you don't have pedestrian access all the way. So what's the next best option? It's being transit oriented. And I understand it's not as attractive as, us building a sidewalk around an entire corridor, but that's where a lot of the opportunity is, in our opinion. And it's something that we took very seriously and tried to address again with the physical constraints, safety constraints, property rights constraints. I mean, we hear you. We think that opportunity for that $1.6 to be spent in Charlton, but this location isn't a pedestrian right now. So what's our next best option? And that to us is the bus, and that's what the traffic consultant also said, right? And we tried to be very responsive there. But I don't want it to seem like we brush it aside. I mean, we looked very hard at this.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
All right, does anyone else on the board have any comments or questions? Or suggestions?
Yeah, unfortunate. He may
Oh, yeah,
have,
no, Ben?
he's testifying on another Zoom and will be free
Oh.
short of that.
Give me a few minutes, Alex.
I think it was trying to address this. But I understand it. Move on with your night. So,
Nothing else to do.
were you able to review that was provided as a follow-up?
I,
It didn't address
what I was like.
I had
Okay.
brought that up and
Middle of the
nobody
night.
answered it.
Okay,
Didn't
sorry,
address
Ben
the-
he's saying I'm back, so hopefully he can.
All right.
Good evening.
Right. Sorry, we were just about to, and then you, I think, you came in just the nick of time, so, Don, do you want to restate the
Sure,
question and make sure we
so then-
understand it?
Sure, and one of the concerns that we had earlier on is is when the acoustical measurements were taking, and the average out, and you kind of testified there was no, that it was within an acceptable range, the delta before and after this building was there. We never really looked at, the quiet of the night, because the Amazon facility is going to be a sound producer 24 hours. So the delta of sound from 2 o'clock in the morning to what it's going to be at 2 o'clock in the morning seems like it's going to be a higher decibel increase than what's expected. Is that part of your measurement, or can you comment on that?
No, so we did address that. I mean, that's certainly a reality of all things. We're replacing wooded land, which is currently not a producer, with something that will be contributing sound. However, we also acknowledge that the sound that's going to be produced by the site kind of comes in two baskets. So the one basket is going to be that HVAC sound produced by the site, that is the 24/7 presence. That's going to be, equipment that's cycling on and running for long periods of time. When we look at comparing that to existing conditions, we certainly compare it to the lower of the sound levels that are present in the area. Not specifically minimums, but what we do is refer to them as the L90 or the background sound level. And that's fully addressed in our initial report. The goal would be that the 24-hour presence of our HVAC noise doesn't elevate or come out above existing conditions in a substantial manner to result in noticeability and negative impact. Now, the second aspect of our site, the other basket that I was referring to, is that we have our trucks, and these are definitely noisier sources. However, their operations are intermittent, so they kind of come and they go, or they have characteristics such as having it be more of a bang or a short burst, air brakes, for example. So these are some of the other elements that are located on site. Now, if you were to compare those to the minimums, they are certainly going to be much more pronounced. However, we showed with our survey that there are already levels of comparable magnitude in the area, and that's going to be from your existing traffic flow, both local and distant in the area, as well as things like aircraft passovers and other activity and noise that occurs in the area. And so by looking at the statistics that are already present, especially as you get off site, then we compare it to, we set up our own project goal with respect to that type of short duration activity and make sure that our presence isn't going to be significantly divergent from levels that are already happening. So if a car passes by a house, creates levels of say 55, then having our trucks also contribute a similar level is not going to be something that will be unique to the area and kind of result in an upheaval or a complete disruption of existing conditions for the residential side of things.
Hey, can we limit the traffic on the 169 entrance to daytime only and kind of avoid any trucks coming up there in the evening? Because that's, going up